All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Happiness Aid once again. I am joined by someone who I've got an incredible admiration for. I'll try not to be too over the top because he's a humble guy, but George Bradley Hogg. How are you, mate?
I'm going very well, Rob. And before we get going, I'd like to plug Lifeline, if that's all right.
Let's do that, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm an ambassador for Lifeline, and there's a lot of people out there, especially with what's going on now, going through some difficult times. And if they feel as though they can't talk to anyone, get on the blower and speak to the volunteers out at Lifeline, 131114. And they'll help you get through the stressful situation you're going through right now and push you into a direction where you can get a little bit more help. And their main aim is to make tomorrow a better day. And I've been through some troubles myself throughout my life. And as a sportsman, I was always told to control my emotions, don't let anyone else see your weakness, and just hold it in. And going through my story, writing the book, there's a lot of, all my mates, my family didn't realise that I was going through it because I just kept it quiet, kept it within myself. And yeah, it caused more stress than any good. And it's always good to try and let it out rather than keep it in.
Mate, so powerful, and I just love the passion you've got for helping other people, mate. And my first question for you is where did that passion come from? You obviously mentioned writing your book and people finding out subsequently that you were going through your stuff. Is that where the catalyst was for you wanting to help more and more people?
Well, to be honest, when I actually wrote the book, I didn't even think anyone would think that part of the story. I was more worried about writing the story of Tom Moody and Eddie Hayden.
Sure.
Yeah, but writing the book, it was about my flaws. It wasn't about criticising anyone else. And then when people got a whiff of this chapter where I was down at the beach and just thinking to myself, should I swim out to that buoy? If I make it back, I'll make it back. If I don't, I don't. I was surprised that people picked up on that and the media were picking up on it. Then Lifeline rang me, and I thought, right, I'll go down and be an ambassador there. And then it was Primary Industries. Now, Primary Industries is a country rural business, and we used to sell wool to primaries when they originally just a wool buyer. And I was down there, I was doing a talk, and I was just going through a bit of a story, a few funny stories. And then I had a little bit with the mental health side of things, and that story where I was contemplating doing the unthinkable. And as soon as I started that story, all the heads dropped down in the audience. And I'm sitting there going, I can't go through this. I can't get through it. And it's the only time I've taken my notes into a particular discussion because I don't like using notes. I said, I'm sorry, I've got to go to my notes here. I'm finding it hard to get through this. And I got through the story and then went back to a bit of a humorous story to finish off and got the audience back. But after that particular speech, everyone came up to me and said, shared a story that they're going through or sharing a story one of their clients or mates are going through. And I didn't realise how prevalent it was. I didn't realise how much I could help. And after that, I don't mind talking about it now. And, I like to go out there and try and help people. And I don't have the resources. How I got through it is not going to help everyone else. It might help a couple of people, but there's different ways to get through this.
And I think that's bang on for exactly what Happiness Co talk about as well. The lived experience that you can utilize to help other people, the way that it can be subjective and it's different for other individuals is great. But I think it's really important when you can emulate someone you feel like you relate to, right? So people that listen to you, the guy that grew up just outside of Williams, was it, on the way to Katanning there?
Yeah, a little place called Tarwonga, if you want to get even more sceptical, Dartadine.
Yep. So, oh, wow.
Yeah, I was talking to Dad that it was just a one teacher school there about 5 k's from my house. Dad went to it for one day in his life. It got shut down and then he had to go to Williams. So, yeah, different times back then. But
do you graduate technically from a day if the whole place closed down?
Oh, he graduated. You've got to have that graduation ticket from a historical event, don't you? The
Yeah,
school
you got to get
version,
something. You got to have something for your efforts. And
yeah.
I think, like I was saying, when you grow up in the country, stoicism, being manly, being macho, all the different things, sort of the opposite of vulnerability. When you had that moment on stage, what was going through your mind as you sort of saw the heads drop?
Look, I felt vulnerable.
Mm.
I felt right. It went back because I was very insecure. Well, I was very insecure up until I met my second wife, Cheryl, who brought out the confidence in me and everything that I've got within that was held within just to go out and express myself. And I think it's important for people to express themselves. I saw a thing the other day where people hate you when you're authentic, but love you when you're fake. And I think we've got to
Yeah.
turn that around. And we've got to be authentic. We're all different people. We're going to annoy people, but look at the positives within someone rather than the negatives. And going through when I was growing up, if I was out of line, I was put into line. And I remember being I remember being at the hotel or the pub down in Williams one night, and I was a little bit out of line, and one of my dad's cousins told me off. I was related to everyone down
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And, I went up to Dad and I said, "Oh, such and such." I won't mention any names. He gave me a bit of a slap across the old cheekbone there for, such and such. You're going to do something. He said, "Well, you pull yourself into line. He hit you because you obviously deserved it." So off I went. And that's the way we were brought up. Respect
Mm.
your elders. Stay quiet in the corner and learn. And yeah, even going through the sport now, just seeing some stuff with football trying to get back in and playing on the TV screen, and the AFL. You can see that there's bullying in those particular coaches right now, with players not wanting to do certain things, and other players going, "Well, you're too selfish. You've got to go with the norm." And if that's going to harm your health, we saw it with Essendon with the supplement saga many moons ago, where if someone stood up, they were going to be bullied into, "No, you've got to do this."
Sure.
No, if you've got something, you stand up for your rights, and everyone else respect that.
And I think that speaks to authenticity, right? That's one of the
Yeah.
things that if you don't value anything, you don't stand for something, then you'll fall for anything at any time, and that's really important to keep in mind.
Well, yeah, exactly right. And we've all got differing opinions, and until something says that your opinion is absolutely wrong, it's been proven wrong. Well, respect everyone else's opinion, and if you've been proven wrong, stand up and say, "Right, I was on the wrong there." But at the end of the day, this is freedom of speech. We're trying to get to the right answer at the end, and that's the same with mental health.
Yeah, well, the correlation between any health and mental health is always right. And there's got to be a point where everyone comes together and actually meets in the middle somewhat to allow other differing opinions. Because, there was a lot of different things happening in mental health 10, 15 years ago, which is relatively recent that would never happen today. So it is about having an open mind. You spoke about and you wrote about your dark times. Happiness Co. and I'm sure yourself are about the positive side of things predominantly, but can you give us some sort of insight, just for those that are listening that may know the happy-go-lucky Brad Hogg, that, loved the way he went about sport and wore that let's call it that sport mask, that public mask really well. What about the stuff going on behind the scenes? Can you give us a little bit of insight into that?
Well, look, to be honest with you, cricket was my escape. Things weren't too good at home. I wasn't in a really good marriage. I wasn't in a good relationship. I had kids. I had all these pressures came up on myself because I couldn't communicate. I was very insecure. And even when I was down there with the team, and I wrote this in the book, I had a few run-ins with Tom Moody, and it wasn't his fault. It was my fault because I didn't know how to express myself.
Sure.
And it was just because of those insecurities. Until my brother came along, I grew up on the family farm by myself, but basically. So I was the only child for 14 years. So, in a sense, I was probably a little bit of a spoiled brat. You could put it down those terms, because I didn't have to share anything with anyone, and it
Sure.
affected me later on in life. So you go through those particular scenarios, and sport, going out playing cricket, I could just express myself. I was in heaven. I was in utopia. I was doing something that I absolutely loved, and I was fortunate enough to do it and get paid for it. But
Yeah.
once I left that arena of the cricket field, I was always worried about going home. What's going to happen when I get home? And generally, that was probably, I'll take full ownership of that, because I didn't know how to communicate properly, and I could have done it a hell of a lot better.
And mate, that's so powerful for you to share, because there's a lot of particularly blokes, and that's the reason we're interviewing a lot of athletes and profiles from sports, particularly in the male world, because I think when someone does have a mental health issue in the sporting world, a lot of the automatic response is, well, you're getting paid, you've got it good. What's your response to that? Because I'm always interested to hear your side of that equation. When you hear things like, you've got it great, what could possibly be upsetting you? Just go home and look at your account, sort of thing. That crap.
Look, I understand where people are coming from there, and look, I agree with that sentiment in a lot of ways. But one thing, when you're having athletes and they go into a system, you're bringing people from different dynamics, different demographics out in the open, from different regions, and you're putting them into one collective group, and all of a sudden you're giving them one big paycheck. And when I first started, we didn't have contracts, so you're still working at this stage. Now these players aren't having contracts. Some of them haven't even worked a day in their life, so they've sort of lost track with reality, and we don't have a system in place to help them stay real. So, all of a sudden you've just come out of school, and then you're in front of the people, your front page of the media. Then all of a sudden that plays on your ego, and all of a sudden you think you're a stockbroker. You think you've got all this knowledge with everything else, and you lose track of reality. And I think we've got to have systems in place to pull that back. But then you go back to what I was saying before with the bullying within sport. If you don't fit the bill within that particular group, it's so easy when you've got a lot of talent around just to say, right, no, you're too much of a trouble. And this is what we don't do well in sporting teams, is go back and this has only just come to me over the last couple of years, when I've been doing a bit of coaching and actually studying some incidences that have happened throughout my career with other people. You sit there and you go, no, he's too much trouble, we move him on. Rather than sitting there and go, right, what's actually the makeup of this particular kid? And sometimes you've got to go back to when he was a two-year-old to find the answer of why he's got this program in him right now that he can't change. Because it's so ingrained in us, the way that we're brought up, the environments that we're brought up, and we're only worried about the solution now. We're not worried about making the solution now to fit the bill to make sure we win a premiership, rather than the whole idea of sport is to test your abilities to the highest level. If you win, you win. If you don't, you don't. But you're getting tested. That's the main thing. But one thing that we don't test each other on is making sure that we're really there for our teammates and dive deep into their history to help them move on to a better life. And if I hadn't met my wife Cheryl now, I think I still would have been so up and down. I still am up and down as it is right now, because there's so many things changing in the world. Where am I going to be in a couple of years' time? We all think that, but I'm just lucky to have someone here that's been able to help me reprogram myself to make these tough times. And I think that's what we need with sport.
And you've mentioned Cheryl a couple of times. Beautiful woman that she is, came into your life at the perfect time by all reports. And
I wish she came into my life when I was 15.
It all happens for a reason. I suppose you got to figure that out the way, don't you? But with someone like your wife, what is it? What are the attributes that someone like that brings to your life to change it so dramatically?
Well, she's thoughtful. She's a critical thinker. She's got her own thoughts, but she listens to other thoughts.
Yeah.
And yeah, going back to what we were talking about before, she sees both sides of the story rather than just being manipulated to one side of the story, or not really manipulated, but you know, you've
Guided.
you've been guided by what you read and what you hear. No, she'll think deeper into it, and she'll question me about my beliefs and make me go and think about it, rather than throw it all down my throat. And look, there's so many things that I've changed my opinion of over the last 7 years because I've seen the other side of the story. And
brilliant.
Yeah, there's another quote that I just love is, if you're going to go into an argument, you make sure you know the other side's argument before you go in, because if you don't, you're all going to get crucified.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
You will.
Yeah.
And comprehensively, and sometimes in public as well.
Oh, exactly right. Exactly right. So just make sure you got all your ducks in a row.
Mate, you spoke about...
Can we say all your ducks in a row these days, or is that politically correct?
I'm not sure, to be honest, man. I don't know what you can say these days. I just go with the rule of we can always edit it out.
No, you can't edit that one out. It reminds me of the great Tony Mann who got me to bowl leg spin. And he used to line the ducks. He used to get the grains in on the dam, and the ducks would swim, and he'd try and shoot the ducks in one bullet, you know. And just
See, my non-farming background just thought it was cricket related, you know.
Oh, exactly right. Well, for me to get a duck, I couldn't use Tony Mann's strategy because I was worse shot. I had to try and spread them out on the dam just to get one.
Down in Williams, or the next one that you guys decided you lived in. Mate, what does someone who has had such a long career, and I don't want to say chase success when you lengthened it out, but there was some unfinished business, right? That you continued the career for so long. Was it just about being challenged? What was it that kept you battling on?
You brought up a real good point there. Success. What a crap word that is. Sorry.
No, I agree.
Success. I've won 2 World Cups. Yep, whoop-de-doo. Yeah, great. Yeah, you're a legend. Yeah, you've won a couple of Big Bash tournaments. Yeah. I guarantee you, I go through my career. When I was thinking about success, it just turned to the newer. I started to become selfish, as I wrote in my book. And I don't mean, I like to be honest about it, because it's, what do you call it? No, what do you call it when you're going? It's a bit of rehabilitation for me. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
The times that I was worried about my next contract, because contract times were coming up, my career went down. You know, there were times where I was getting ahead of myself, and I was an absolute big head. And when I went back to the Scorchers, success for me wasn't winning. Success for me was what the players and what the organisation was actually doing for the game of cricket, and the way that they, all the players, interact with the crowd. Oh, I can still feel it now. It's the way that it was just perfect environment, because we're out there to win. Yes, we're out there to give it our best, but we gave more back to the game than what we probably got out of it in that sense, and that's success for me. And that was probably the 5 years out the Perth Scorchers was a perfect utopia for me with my particular career, because I wasn't worried about my results. I was more worried about the impact that I had in the game, and I was more worried about how I was going to leave the game than.
So it became reasons over results for you.
Yeah. and as soon as as soon as you sort of started having arguments and talking about where you're going to go the following year, things just I enjoyed that aspect of it, but it just didn't feel the same.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a bit like so with T20 cricket now, we go around and play in different tournaments around the world. You don't have that community feel when you go to another team. That Perth Scorchers, that was community feel. And I don't care whether you play sport. I don't care whether you're in an art institution or whether you do plays in the community. You've got to do something for your community. If you do that, it's a better environment.
Yeah, I love that. There's a great saying around here at Happiness Co. around if you're not waking up every day wanting to contribute to the community, what's the point?
Exactly right. Exactly right. And you sort of sit there. The times that I lose my way is the times I'm not asking those questions. It's the times where I go back, hang on, I'm in a little bit of trouble here. But as soon as I ask the questions, all right, what can I give, or how can I make a difference? All of a sudden, things start to happen.
Yeah.
So if we go back through that particular period of time where I was going through my divorce, I was going down the beach. I went out one night. I was going out and I was just living life up because I could probably share this story. The first meeting that I had with a lawyer that I had, I said, "Oh, do I get any credits for not cheating on my wife while going away?" He goes, "Well, you've wasted your time as an international cricketer," and that's the worst thing he could have said to me. And so anyway, I thought, right, I'm going to make the most of it now before I lose everything. So I'm going out thinking I'm having a whale of a time. And I remember being out the Wacker and I was just drinking. Then I got invited to go into the Australian change rooms. The manager rang me up, walking around the Wacker, and I saw this kid walks up to me. "Hang on, Hoggy." And I go, oh no. I wasn't in a state, and I tried to act and everything.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah. So that was one incident, but I just thought I was having a good time. Then there was one night where I got in the cab with my brother and his girlfriend sitting in the front. We've got an Indian cabbie in the front, and we're talking about cricket.
No doubt.
We're going back to my parents' house, and I reckon about 3 minutes, I can't remember. We started having a little bit of a disagreement about Virat Kohli or MS Dhoni, I don't know. And then I got out of the car, and my brother calmed it down. And I went into the house, had an argument with Dad and Mum, and got in my car and drove home. So I went home, walked through my front door, went into the bathroom, brushed my teeth, looked at myself in the mirror and go, "What are you doing?" I walked into my office and I wrote 13 things down of where I wanted my life to go after that. My dad came over and knocked on the door. I said, "Look, I'll speak to you tomorrow. Sorry about that." So I wrote these things on the board. The next day, I woke up, tried to get a hold of the cab driver to apologise. So hopefully they've passed on those messages, but I'd rather do it face to face or at least phone to phone. Within a week, I got a phone call to be part of a radio show. All of a sudden, this positive energy just started to turn my life around. And it wasn't too long before Cheryl was on board as well. And that just took it to a new level. And, when you go through mental health, you can get all the help you can get. But if you don't make the decision to change yourself, that's where it becomes tough. And, even going through this lockdown period, I'm trying to revisit myself and study other people because I want to go down the psychology path, because psychology is the most important thing in sport to help these kids be better cricketers, but also be better people and embrace what life's got to give them. And there's one statement there, another quote, but it's not quite the quote that I'm looking for, but what you dream, what you're thinking about, the actual energy is going to come to you with the energy that you've got. So the energy you give out to the world is the energy that you're going to get back. And my wife's actually looking at me right now because I haven't been the best for a couple of days, but that's just something that's happening in my life. But it's good to be able to talk about this right now because I just realise that right now, these are things that I've got to go back to.
Yeah,
we're up and down.
Absolutely, mate. And I think when you go through that, there's a lot of research around people that have gone through their bouts of unhappiness or depressed moods or depression that it doesn't quite go away. It's about management and finding the right tools and techniques. So to sort of bring it back to my next question, which you segued really nicely to, which is what do you do to take stock and make sure that you at least stay where you would like to be and not go back to those times where you were a bit more unhappy and in those times where it was a bit darker?
You sort of, for me, I think it's routine. I think that's one thing that I've missed out with cricket when you're travelling is routine. But the other thing is communicating.
Yeah.
There's been times where I've been frustrated around the house and just kept things in. And then all of a sudden it's just and let it out when it's a little too late. And then your wife might hear it, or your mum might hear it, or your brother might hear it, and they go, "Oh no, we've got to go through this again," And they've got to take a deep breath. Whereas if you talked about it a couple of days before, or even a week before, when it all started, you might have been able to nail it on the head there. But the other thing is just continue looking in the mirror. For me, about doing plenty of exercise. I've got to keep exercising. If I don't, everything builds up.
What's your physical routine of choice?
I go bike riding now because I can't run as much because of my knee, so I do a lot of bike riding. Really,
are we lycra clad? Is that what's happening?
Oh, don't worry about that. Do you want me to get in my lycra?
So, I would rather you didn't.
Well, don't worry about that, mate. You'll be very, very happy if I got in my lycra because you'll be proud as punch.
Would we have to do any blurring?
All the cyclists love getting off the bike with me and going for a coffee. Don't worry about that.
Just clicking in your heels, along the concrete.
Yeah. So what cycling does, and weights and lawn bowls. I'm doing lawn bowls. So
I saw that. Did you take that up because the old man? Is that what I read?
Yeah, more my mum.
Lovely.
Yeah, so mum went out and got me some new bowls, and it's got green and gold, and
how good's that?
But they've got little orange sparks, and she's put baggy green on the side of it, and I thought,
mum.
Well, there's a small little bias on one side with little baggy green. I thought, right, if they're going to do that, they've got to do the small one on the other side. And
of course they do.
Massive on the other side. So I took the bowls down for the first time. I felt like an absolute dick, and then then it just comes. Well, this is me, isn't it? Baggy 367. So bugger it, it's mine. But when I go for my bike ride, it's quite funny. A couple of blokes have been trying to get me to go with them up to the hills in Perth.
Yes.
I'm going, no. I'll just go out there and do it myself and keep my fitness up. I've been up with them twice now. And one thing that has really rejuvenated me and made me happy is that I feel part of a team. Like people drop off. You watch the Tour de France, people are dropping off. So you go hard up the hill and then you sort of turn around and go back and pick up your mates and take them up. So you're working as a team. And that's one thing that we've got to do. We've got to start working as a team. And, I get asked to go and talk to businesses and that, and actually talking about it right now, it's all about communication. Because as a sportsman, you've got 15 blokes in a squad, you've got 24 blokes in a squad, they're all there for the same purpose. They love sport, they're going out there to be the best they possibly can. When you go into a work environment, is everyone in that work environment there to be the best they possibly can. No, they're there for different reasons. And
Yeah.
that's why it's important to communicate and make sure you, if you're the leader of that organisation, you're talking to your staff about, what do you want to get out of life? Where do you want to go? And, don't try and keep them there because you need them there, because you can always get new staff. But if they want to go somewhere with their life and they've got ambition, we'll help them go to that ambition. If they want to be there because they're just getting the paycheck to go home, well, help them be in an environment where they can come to work and enjoy and get something out of it. They're coming and they're getting some meaning out of it. And I think if we look back in our society where we're out right now, I just think we can revisit those particular issues, because for me right now, I just think we're getting bombarded with so much information on technology. We're on technology. We're not actually talking to each other because we're confined. So much has changed in the last 40 years. And over the last 3 weeks, so much has changed right now. And it's a tough period for human beings, because where are we going to be in a couple of weeks' time? We're not really in control at the moment. We've got to stop back. We've got to sit back. The leaders have got to sit back and go, hang on, all right, what can we do to make sure that our economy is controlled, our population is controlled, and we come out of this with everyone healthy, and not just physically but mentally.
And I think that's the most important thing, right? We got to keep every element of health in mind as we go through this rapid change, and that's what Happiness Aid aims to do, which is keep people connected. And I mean, we have the benefits and we have the cons, but technology is here to stay, isn't it?
Well, it is here to stay. It is here to stay. And the other thing that I always try and keep a healthy lifestyle. So I try and watch what goes into my body. I'll put my hand up. I overdrink. That's probably my worst habit. I overdrink. Sure. I'll probably go to the cupboard and eat a bit too much cheese. And I've got to stop cheese because Mum had to go for a heart operation the other day.
I'm with you there, yeah. I'm with you on the cheese, mate. It's so hard to say no to.
You're not with me on the alcohol?
No,
but we
only on a Saturday between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. Hoggy, you know me.
Yeah. No, but it's been honest. We
absolutely it is. Well, there's no point denying it, because then you can't actually control it. If you just push it down, there's no control over it. And
as you said before, why am I speaking about it? Because if you go to mining sites, they've got the bar there, and the bar's open, and they're drinking rather than doing other things that they could be, right? Reading something new, getting knowledge on something new, going to the gym even though it's half an hour and you're worn out for that after that 12-hour period. When you go to the tuck shop, make sure you get healthy options 5 times at least, or 5 days a week at least out of your 7. So and the habit the habit starts creeping in, and I think I don't think there's enough education on the health ways of living, and we're just bamboozled with everything. It's cheaper to go and get a McDonald's than go down and get your fruit and veggies, your fresh fruit and veggies from the shops. So I just think we just got to educate ourselves there to help with mental health.
Well, you mentioned before about people being guided, and unfortunately, you've got to be guided by your own moderation and guided by your own common sense as well sometimes, because there's a lot of guiding towards the tougher stuff, the food that isn't as great for you, or the stuff that is more, let's say, accessible and affordable when it shouldn't be. And you make a great point about that.
Well, I remember back when I was 18, I went to England and I came back. I couldn't fit a pair of tennis shorts over my knees. That's how big I got. And but that's because
imagine the lycra.
Imagine the lycra.
Be like a Play-Doh man.
Yeah, I'd look like a woman then too. Don't worry about that.
In the best of ways.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that.
So, what choices were you making then? What was leading to that?
I was eating fish and chips. I was having bacon and eggs every morning with sauce on it. You know, if I wanted a quick meal before, because we were playing cricket every day, I'd be getting a piece of bread with putting tomato sauce on it. Yeah, I was just, it was diabolical. Like, I'll ring up the person who was looking after me. Spaghetti healthy? Yeah, in moderation. So spaghetti, baked beans?
Yeah, no worries.
Then I got back, and there was this little bit of flab out the end when I was losing weight, and I could not get rid of it for 2 years. And I was just getting so frustrated with it. And after that, I said, I'm not letting myself get to that stage again. So
yeah, that's a great catalyst when there's that last stubborn piece to go. That's the one that people get. I always love the I don't know if you've heard the story of or if you may have come across it when JL had the eating comp with Mike Gadding when he was playing county cricket. He went toe to toe with him on what Gadding was eating every day for one day.
He would have been sick for about a week, JL.
Oh, I think he told it on maybe the Howie Games was the podcast, but geez, it was a good laugh because he's like, "Are you serious? We're having this?" And then we went out for dinner, and there was, scones and biscuits at afternoon tea, and the life of a cricketer was, obviously something to behold, but it would have been tough to stay fit.
Oh, it would have been. No wonder why Mike Gadding missed that ball of the century from playing warm. Couldn't get his feet to move.
Shout out to Mike Gadding. Yeah, it's hard to move anything.
We can't do that. Yeah, that's bullying. Sorry, Mike.
Yes, exactly. Hi, Mike. Now, one of the things that I really love about the way you do things, mate, is it's always 100%. Now, that's always a positive if there's a positive outcome, but what can be the negative of going absolutely 100 all the time?
You might have to talk to my wife about that.
Well, there you go. It's relationship communication, all the things that I guess add positively if they're not done right at that time. It can lead to some issues, right?
Yeah, it can. Like even my daughter, I dropped her off to school this morning, and I'm on a high when I wake up in the morning, and at night I fall asleep when they're watching a movie. That's I just bang scenario, and I picked my daughter up from school. It was her birthday the other day. And I had a happy birthday song blaring as I got there. She's just started high school.
Oh, she would have loved that.
Oh no, just turn it off, Dad. Turn it off, Dad. And even well, both of them get stuck into me when can you just calm down a bit, Dad? Just calm down a bit, and because when I get in that phase, it's very hard for me to stop because I've just got so much energy burning through my body.
Yeah, of course, and I think the balance, right, is the physical stuff that you get up to. So going for the rides and jumping in the waves as you do down in that secret place we're not allowed to mention. Because
exactly right. Good boy. Good boy.
It's a well kept secret down there. I think that's the obvious solution to it, is to make sure that you're keeping up with your physical health so you can have an outlet.
Oh, exactly right. And there's different outlets. Like you just mentioned surfing. I go out there. Look, if we go surfing together, you'll sit there and. All right. No, he can just stand on the board. That's fine. But it's just
mate, you're in great company there if it's just about a paddle and maybe a fall.
Yeah. It's just great just sitting there in the water and just letting the world go by. I must admit, while I'm on the bike, while I'm doing weights, while I'm playing lawn bowls, while I'm surfing, some of the ideas that come through my head, that's where creation starts. Now, going back to my ups and downs, right? So I do my vlogs. So this is a bit of rehabilitation for me, but I'm sharing it with everyone there. So I'll sit there. Sometimes it takes me 2 hours to do a vlog. It really annoys me. I've prepared well, but the reason why it does is I'll get on there and I'll get through my first statement, and then I'm on a high, but I'm trying to rush. And there's a word there that frustrates me. I've got to do it again. Got to do it again. Over perfectionism, right? So not being authentic, trying to be too perfect. As soon as you go back like that, flow through. But when I get into those situations, what do I do that causes me to go for another 2 hours? I keep going, and I get frustrated, more frustrated, more frustrated. Instead of getting up after after not doing it well for 3 times, instead of getting up, just going for a walk, thinking about something else, then coming back and then nailing it,
Brilliant.
because your mind's fresh, and you come back and I don't know. Thanks for this. I'm really enjoying it. It's given me such.
No, you're welcome. I think what you're saying there, mate, is a great analogy for any workplace, right? Or any office or any team or any person that wants to be creative and share their message. Because one of the things that we want to be is a platform for exactly what you're talking about, which is getting your story, your message. You know, there's so many people with brilliant stories and brilliant tools and techniques that maybe don't have the confidence to share that. So tips like that, mate, are fantastic because you don't have to be perfect.
Oh, exactly right. And you just brought up the corporate world there. I remember I worked out Curtin as a business development manager there for a while. And I look back at it, we used to have meetings on a Tuesday and a Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd rock up there. They weren't really planned. They were just what everyone was going through and type scenario. And they just got
Bit of a
repeated.
huddle.
Yeah, a bit of a
Yeah.
huddle. And I just sort of, we've got to have more meaning to these meetings, have more plan to it. And if you do, and then it takes me back, when you're in a heated discussion or you're having a little bit of a debate and everyone's trying to get their opinion across, and then everyone goes, all right, well, the meeting's finished, and then you don't come back to it for another week or two. That's the time when you've had a heated discussion, everyone's put their points across. All right, let's just go out for a coffee, and then we'll come back in 20 minutes' time. So you sort of if you're going to have a meeting which is going to be a little controversial and people have got different opinions, well, have a specific time where you can have a break, then come back and refresh. Right, have we got any common ground here?
Yeah.
Because generally, when you're in that heated discussion and you don't walk away from it, and you don't have an option where you can come back and discuss it and regain your thoughts, you walk away and you're frustrated because he didn't hear me or she didn't hear me, or it's if everyone relaxes and starts talking about the footy or art or something else, and then come back, everyone's got a different mind about things. They've refreshed
Absolutely.
because they're in a relaxed state. And I guess going back, you look at the cricket side of things. Batting, not so much bowling, because bowling I field and I'm fielding, because I was spinner, I wasn't up first. I was always going to be bowling in the 20th over if it was one day,
Sure.
or probably the first over of the first session on the longer form. So all that frustration that I had at home, it was slowly burning off before I got to go and do my actual element of the game that I had to do. But
Gotcha.
if I was batting, now down at Gradeland, they always have this joke down there: Hoggy, you bat us into a wicket, but you bowl us out of it. So that's one thing that frustrated with my career, is my batting wasn't as a better standard than what it was in first class level. But it comes down, I was batting 6, 7, 8. I was sitting there, and the stuff that was really eating at me outside of the game was sitting there while I was waiting to bat. And then as the batting came up, I'm sitting there trying to focus on my batting. And then there's another 100 things going through my mind. What happens is, because I wasn't in a calm state of mind. So, it's just trying to control all those things that happen in your life, because not everything's going to be in sync where everything's in a happy line. You've got to try and create your own happiness somewhere, and leave it. Well, those negative situations, get on top of it at the start. Talk about it from the start, because if it builds up, your relationships just go south rather than north.
Brilliantly put, mate. And I think the cutting the noise is what those peak performers in their space do. And you cut the noise for your bowling by building up to it through the different things. And I'm sure when it's your number one thing that you're there for, there's a different mindset. So, if you, and again, relating it back to a workplace, if there's something that maybe you're not the best of the best at, but you want to excel in as well, it's about making sure you take a step back and understanding that you don't have to be bang on perfect every time, that you're okay to fail forward if you like.
Yeah. Oh, exactly right. Exactly right. It's your life, no one else's life. It's not your mum and dad's life. They want the best for you, but just because they think this is the best option for you doesn't mean it's where you want to go. If you want to do something, you've got to control your destiny. Just remember that your parents, the environment that you are, they programmed you as a kid, and you've got all those values. But to try and challenge those values when you move forward, because you're having those different experiences around the world, is very, very tough to get out of.
Yeah.
And you know, it's really an interesting world. And I'm still trying to challenge myself to be more worldly, and because there's so much out there that we miss, and those options. But just going back to that workplace, you've got to create that environment where everyone's challenged and they've got their different goals. And as an individual, you've got to make sure you make the most of the opportunities, because you only live once.
Mate, I love that, and you speak so much of the Happiness Co language. It's incredible to have your input on it, mate. And before we finish up, though, I've got a couple of rapid fire word association. We've got a word association game for you. I've come up with a little list.
Can you get my thesaurus, please?
Well, you just have one sitting on standby, do
you? I'll look out the thesaurus. It's so funny, isn't it? You I want vernacular. I want to improve my vernacular. I want to get bigger words, and
It's funny that words that mean a set of words are always the hardest word. Vernacular, vocabulary,
Exactly right. Exactly right. So I want to spread myself. It's not words that count. If you can put it in a simple manner, that is the best knowledge that you can have.
I love that. Well, I'm gonna turn that on its head a little bit, and I'm just gonna give you a word or two, and I just love your quick sentence, or even just a word in reply, what it means to you over the journey, because boy, it's been an incredible one. And as a cricket tragic myself, it's been pretty awesome to not just chat with you today, but see it all unfold over the 900 years that you've been playing cricket for.
I haven't retired yet either.
I know. I was about to ask that. Do we get the scoop? We had a few people on the chats over the last couple of weeks who are umming and ahhing, so you never know. I wouldn't put you in that basket though. Do you want to come and play for the Scarborough Sharks? Would be my first question. We have a COVID Cup coming up. If you want to fill in for our team, there's a spot for you.
Anything north of the river? No way.
Fair call. Yeah, no, that's fair.
If you've got a team coming in to play you from south of the river, yes.
You can bat only though.
Well, you're in trouble then, mate, because my bowling is quite delicious.
I wouldn't want to face you on the concrete. Put it that way.
That's the place you do want to face me.
You're just sits up here. The first one is an easy one, I think, but baggy green.
I've only got one word.
Couple of words, a sentence.
Pride of the nation.
Love that. Mental health.
Resilience.
Happiness.
Don't search it. Let it come.
You're like an Australian Buddha. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the thing is, if you're chasing happiness, you're always trying to find more. But if you're comfortable with the space that you're in, happiness is going to come and find you. So
it's fantastic.
It's been around the right people that challenge you in the right way.
Perfectly put. India.
Fantastic nation. Fantastic. Cricket loving and always accepting. Open arms, and it's probably the second country in my heart at the moment. Just the one that they've accepted me, the food, and I've got so many wonderful relationships over there. And what teaches me is that we've got different cultures, but we're all human.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic takeaway from a nation that's served up its culture in so many different ways. I'm sure when you've been there, and I actually, that's on my bucket list. As soon as all this is done and dusted, I want to get there. I don't hear anything but positive things, especially when we're talking to so many cricketers.
Yeah, oh, exactly right. I think it comes back to when you talk about different cultures, we all stereotype those cultures because of religion and because go and find the real people. Because some of the stuff that you see that is not authentic to what that nation actually is. And
Yep.
I've seen that with many nations that I've travelled to.
What's your, apart from India, what's your favourite country to have visited?
South Africa. I just love the nature there. But I also love learning about the political issues over there as well, because it's a different world that we're not used to. And we've got so many South Africans here, and it's just learning what they've gone through as well. My coach, Peter Karlstein, was from South Africa. So just learning the background of where he came from, that's the enthralling thing for me.
Historically rich, isn't it, over there? The next word, mate, is leadership.
Honest and strong.
Yeah. And difficult conversations is something that comes up a lot when we talk leadership. And you mentioned before about communication, the easy conversation, hard life, hard conversation, easy life kind of mantra.
Yeah, well, we've talked about Justin Langer. He's a good friend of yours. Even though we've had our disagreements, the thing that he does is if he says something and he's got to stick by it and he's got to make that hard call, he will. I think you even go back to Michael Clark in that leadership role. People have a lot of negative about Michael Clark, but one thing Michael Clark did was when the team needed it, he put the team first instead of his mates. And
sure.
You look at that and you go, that's a bloke who's honest and authentic. So you've got to give him credit in that particular regard. And as a leader, if you're wrong, you've got to be able to stand up and say, "Yep, I'm wrong. I accept that, and we're moving forward in this direction. Thanks for sticking by me."
Well, I love that, and they say that authenticity is making decisions regardless of whether you have any friends at the end of it.
Exactly right. And that state, if you're authentic, most people hate you, but if you're fake, they love you.
So true, mate. The last one, just to wrap things up, mate. Cheryl.
My backbone. Just someone who's very authentic and has made me worldly. If anything, I've had a lot of people that have influenced me over the world, but someone who's influenced me in the right way rather than the wrong way. Someone that's challenged me to better myself rather than pee in my pocket and say, "Oh, you're this, you're this." No, you're better than that, and doesn't let me get away with things. So she makes me accountable. That's probably it. Yeah.
What a brilliant word, accountability, and mate, I couldn't put into words how much it means for you to give us your time today. But what I will say is that you've given some people some incredible takeaways, some great distinctions, and a lot of people who have an incredible respect for you as a person and a player. Is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap up? Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Oh no! Look, there's people out there. You'll be surprised if you're going through a tough situation. Just share it with your mates, and the ones that are close to you, the ones who really care about you, will help you get through it. If you can't, call Lifeline 131114. At the end of the day, tomorrow, if you can get through today, tomorrow is going to be a better day. And I guess going through with all the talking that I've done and the speeches, some of the people that I've looked up to after giving a talk and after sharing my story, I can't believe that they've gone through the same thing. And these are people I looked up to, and I thought they were tough as nails. So I thought the other Mike Tysons of the world. And that hit me big time. So don't think you're the only one going through a tough time. Just whatever you can do, find a way to get through it. Whether it's writing 13 things on a board where you want to go through, but try and get that positive energy. And don't expect that just because you're thinking positive, it's going to come to you. You've got to believe it, and the energy's got to be believed. It's just not a fake thing that's in your mind. It's got to be within your body that attracts it.
So eloquently put, and I think action speaks louder than words. Action over awareness, as Happiness Co talks about a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think the other thing is just have one thing that you want to achieve every day to try and make yourself better. And I'll be honest with you, I don't do that every day, but the times that I do that, things start to get back on track, and that's the thing about getting in routine. I don't stay in my routines. And when I don't stay in my routines, watch out.
Yeah. No, fantastic advice, mate. And like I said, lots of different takeaways and distinctions for people listening. I think my biggest takeaway is, be vulnerable when it matters, and you don't have to be perfect all the time. I think that's just a thing that we get complacent about, and, complacency can lead you to some odd places. So we need to make sure that we're on top of it and staying on routine. But Brad Hogg, thank you very much, mate, for all your time, and can't wait to have you back again, hopefully soon. We'll have to have
good,
another
Robbie.
yarn.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I might even get my wife on next time as well. And
let's have a Cheryl cameo. The star of the show. Thanks so much, mate.
Thanks, Robbie.